show on Solitaire board games. I'm Albert, and this is episode 385.
Take me out to the board game. Take me out to the board game. Let's all go roll some dice. Oh, I'm sure I can do more lines to that, but we won't today.
That was great, Julius. I really like that. That was clever. Yeah, that's right. Today we're talking sports because us sporty guys, we love talking about balls and sports and sports ball in general.
Oh yeah, sports ball in general. And I think you're going to see quite quickly from the depth of discussion we have about how accurately these portray real life things, how much we know about real life things when it comes to sports.
Yeah, pretty much next to nothing. Could just say that right off the bat,
Although I will say, at the very moment that we're recording, my son is off doing a flag football game, so I have some sports in there. Some sports.
Okay. We should have had him on then. He could have talked about sports for real.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is episode 385, which means it's a Popular Mechanics episode. And this time around, Julius said, "Hey, we're doing sports." And he may have noticed a scared deer in the headlights look on my face when he said that, but I said yes anyway.
Albert has no fear.
I have no fear. I have no sense of sports. Yeah. No. This is gonna be an interesting episode. We're gonna see. Last week, I went on Friday and I got myself a COVID shot and a flu shot and a pneumonia shot. Or Thursday, and then Friday I felt pretty lousy and I was under the weather. And I think on top of that, I got my kids' codes and it's allergy season, and so I'm not playing my best game right now. Let's just say that. so it's gonna be rough no matter what. It's gonna be a rough episode. Yeah. What's a sports, Julius?
What's a sports?
Yeah.
That's an awful difficult question for me to quantify based on some of the things on my lists. A sports is a competition based on physical prowess where there is a winner and a loser and a score being given for some sort of thing that you do in the course of it, and a set of rules for how it is that you have to behave when you're playing the game. And this is a board game which references one of those sports.
Okay. So yeah, that's about what mine would be, pretty much. Yeah.
Maybe, because I think that was a horrible definition, even based on the things on my list, because I have things on here that are sports because, for example, running is a sport. There's not a competition involved there, unless I guess you're competing against yourself. But there's not a competition. There's no points. But it's a sport. So I don't know. I didn't really think of a good definition.
There's definitely competitive running.
Yeah, but if you're not competitively running.
Well, so like I'm running on my treadmill a few times a week, and it's not a competition, but I'm always trying to see if I could get a little farther than I did last time and that sort of thing in my allotted 40 minutes. So yeah, I'm competing against myself, and it's definitely an athletic thing because I'm tired by the end of it. No, but I wouldn't call that a sport either. Though I've been learning German lately, and if I remember correctly, in German, you say you're doing sports when you're exercising. So yeah, I think it might count.
Okay. I don't know. Some of the ones on my list are not sports. I have a very classic sport on my list. I even have two very classic sports on my lists.
One of which you stole from me.
Well, yeah, I'm going to cede that one to you.
Actually.
I'm going to cede that one to you so that I can talk about more other things on my list because I'm that sort of person. But why don't you start off on that one, then we'll perhaps expand our definition of sport a bit more.
Okay, so my first one then it's a classic baseball game. It's bottom of the ninth from Dice Hate Me Games, which then I guess got joined with the Greater Than Games at some point.
Correct.
And that's a game.
And now it's nothing.
And now it's nothing. Yeah, well, I mean they're still there technically, but it's a game where you're basically playing baseball. It is the last inning of 9 innings. It's the bottom of the ninth, which means the other team has already taken their ninth inning, and you're still playing, and the game is tied. So what you need to do is you need to make just one little point, and you win the game, and it's guaranteed at that point because the other team can't do anything else. So you're playing that last inning, The other team is pitching, and you're trying to bat. This is a two-player game that also has a solo option. It's pretty neat because it's the components. It brings a board that's a baseball field and all that, but it's got cards for all the players, and they look like old style baseball cards that kids would collect and whatnot. And it even brings a stick of gum in it that is actually a counter tracker. It's not gum; it's cardboard, but it looks like a stick of gum, and use it to track balls and strikes.
The components in this game are adorable. You didn't even mention the meeples. It's got
And then
meeples that are
it's got
baseball
meeples,
characters. It's so cute.
and they're batting or pitching. It's really nice components. And there's a few expansions for it, adding more and more players, so you get more and more cards. Um, it's neat. I played it solo this weekend to remind me. I hadn't played it in a while, and I've been wanting to actually. And when you're playing solo, you're playing against an AI deck that you draw a card to find out what it did. So in theory, there's some strategizing, but you're playing two player. You're trying to outthink what your opponent's going to do. What combination of how's he going to pitch this time, and you could either be higher, low, or inside or outside. And I guess that means positionally. Where is it, to the left or the right? And so you're trying
Yeah,
to
where is
like
it that you're
outwit your
throwing the ball?
opponent. Yep, you're trying to outwit your opponent on that. Solo, you're just trying to outwit the
Get
AI
lucky.
with the next card that gets drawn. Get lucky. And I find that certain combinations seem to work better than others for me. So maybe it isn't even luck. It's just keep picking the same thing. Eventually, statistically, you'll do well. At least one way to look at it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It feels exciting. You're playing and you get a lot of strikes and all that, and your batters get taken out. And little by little, the game's ending, and you haven't scored yet, and you're thinking, man, it's one more strike, and I lose. And then suddenly you get a hit finally, and like bases are loaded, and maybe you make a point. It gets really exciting at the end. It feels like a really exciting end to a baseball game, and it does that really well. On the other hand, it's a baseball game. And if you're not into it, it's okay, whatever. I mean, yeah, it's neat, but can we move on? So, and this is my problem with sports games. I'm not really into sports, so I'm not into games about them too much. They got to be mechanically fun and not really focus on the sports too much, I think, for me to really keep my interest. But this is a fun little game, and it plays pretty quick, 15 minutes. However, the solo game is a campaign. I played one game out of the campaign.
I will say, for me, I included this one as the first on my list because it was the most sport of the games that I have, of the games on my list. It is very sport. But in all honesty, it's probably the worst game, in my opinion, of the ones on my list. Because the way you win, especially playing solo, is get lucky. Like maybe you did it, maybe you didn't. I don't understand the odds. I don't understand how to play well at playing the odds. It
Yeah.
just feels like just get lucky. Although the components are lovely and the game looks very nice, when you're playing against another player, you at least have that sort of sense that comes out of a baseball game of, do I try, how can I double think through my opponent and figure things out? Which, granted, I don't actually think is that amazing to play normally, like to play that baseball game, to play that double think type thing. Like, that's not super interesting or super great of a game. The game is excellent looking and it is very well
Mm-hmm.
produced. And that challenge when you're playing multiplayer, at the very least, I can understand that. I respect that. That is fun briefly. But in solo, I actually am not a huge fan of it, but it is the most sport of the game that I mentioned on my list. So it was very sport. So it was the first on my list, but I wasn't really happy with it. Thus, I cede it to Albert, and it is now his fault for picking the game.
I did mention it's greater than games. If you go to their website, you can't find the game itself anymore from them, but they do have some of the expansions, and I think they're like 75% off now. A lot of their stuff seemed to be at 75%. So I was thinking about ordering an expansion I didn't have. Even I don't know. I don't think I need it, but yeah, check it out.
So I'm going to go with my next one. And the next one
Okay.
that I have, again, I'm tried to organize these by most sport. The next one I have is Heat, Pedal to the Metal. This
Oh,
is
okay.
this is a car racing game. Racing is a sport.
Mm-hmm.
Racing is a sport. So it is a car racing game where you are a racer in, I don't know, some race. I don't know, Monaco Grand Prix, I have no idea. But you are racing around the board trying to drive as fast as you can. You have a deck of cards that you are going to be building up over the course of the game. Some of those cards are going to be heat. Heat is sort of like bad cards in your deck builder game. If you have too much heat, you're going to burn out. You can't go as fast. Many of your cards will be like, hey, push your luck, play an extra card to the cards you've already played, at which point in time you start flipping over cards from your deck and see, well, did I draw too much heat? Am I burning up? Am I crashing and burning? There are turns that you have to go around, so you have to gauge when you go around the turn. You want to downshift some so that you play less cards, or can you go faster because you're behind or because you're trying to stay ahead, so you need to play more. So it is a deck builder game, um, hiding as a racing game where you're trying to balance that heat that you have to try and go as fast as you can while not burning up, having too much heat and totally trashing your engine. I thought that the game is pretty fun. The deck builder element where you're managing your speed and anything else that affects your deck and managing the heat, but also trying to eke out as much value as you can from the game is very fun. When you're playing solo, it's just another set of players that just randomly move around the board. You have to keep up from them and you have to drift past and things like that. I thought that the game was a lot of fun the couple times I've played it. I think that the strategic card play of using that deck and being able to balance it is a lot of fun. I thought the components are relatively nice. It's got a little gear shifter meeple,
Mm-hmm.
gear shifter mini. I'm not quite sure what it is. A plastic piece that you put on top of the cardboard to show what gear you're at. And I know every time I play, you always got to
Okay.
make the noise when your gear shift, and then whatever it is, because it's so much more fun when you do things like that. So the components are pretty nice. Car art's pretty nice. It gets you in the feeling of driving real fast around there, especially when you've got a lot of cars, everyone running around. Although, granted, generally I've found out that there's always like one or two persons who are just way behind and basically out of the game.
Oh,
That
yeah.
happens even solo, so it is what it is. But I feel like it's the way
Okay.
it is just for racing. It
Now,
says heat pedal to the metal. Yes, Albert.
you're saying it's less of a sports game because of car racing is less of a sport, or because the mechanics of it feels less sporty, or what is it?
Because car racing is less of a sport than baseball, I
Okay.
felt.
Okay. I could see that. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. A pastime doesn't seem quite right either. But
I don't know.
it's on the sports shows, so I
It's
guess it
still
must
on
count.
the gradient of sport. I'm still including
Yeah,
it. It's just less
absolutely.
of
Yeah, yeah.
sport.
No, I know.
Oh,
Well,
don't worry. We'll get even less sport as we go on.
really. Oh, okay. Oh, are you gonna have
Are you taking guesses?
I'm gonna take a guess, and not maybe I'll not do this because I gotta find it on this list, and I just don't remember what it's called. Forget it. I'll bring it up later if I remember. I'll just cut all that out. Future Albert, edit that out. All right, so I'm gonna honorably mention a racing game too, then, because it is one that I enjoy solo, which is Formula D, or Formula D now, the more modern version. That's a game about car racing. It is a Indy 500 type. No, it's the other kind of racing, the ones on the funny shaped tracks, I guess. You know that kind of sport. Um, it is not a solo game. It's for something like 2 to 8 players, and you're racing around a track. You could get different tracks. You could buy different ones, and this one is interesting because it handles shifting slightly different than what you're describing. Here, you use dice you roll the dice to see how far you move. You start with a D4 in first gear. As you change gears, the dice get bigger. You're 6, 8, 12, 20, and as high as a 30-sided die. So if you're rolling the D30, you're going much faster than you roll the D4. You're going to move more spaces. There's a couple things that make it pretty interesting though. The dice aren't isn't a range from 1 to X. It isn't like from 1 to 4 and 1 to 6 and 1 to 8. Like the 30. I don't know what the other ones are exactly, but the 30-sided die is from 20 to 30 only. So you're gonna roll a high number for sure if you're in that high a gear. It's guaranteed. There's no way you're gonna get a 1 or 2. So as you're going accelerating to get higher speed, you got to be careful because when a curve comes around, you have to hit those curve spaces a certain number of times depending on how sharp a curve it is. So if you're going really fast and you got to stop twice within a curve that's 6 spaces, there's no way you'll make it. You're definitely going to crash. You're not going to stop on 2 separate rows in a D30 within a 6 space range. You need to slow down incredibly. Um, So you're playing, you're shifting up, shifting down, racing, passing each other, and that sort of thing. It is really fun. And playing solo, it's fun to just play it and see where the different teams end up and how it goes. It's just it's multi-handed solo, absolutely. There's no winning or losing. It's just playing for the fun of watching the race. But I've enjoyed that solo. I really have. So yeah, I like car racing games too. I think they're sporty.
Albert considers it sport. I have his
Yeah,
approbations.
but that was not a game from my list. That was just I wanted to mention it as an honorable
Okay.
mention. My second game is a sporty game also, which is Bowling Solitaire. Now this got covered way back in episode 36. Have you ever played this one?
Bowling Solitaire? I've heard of it.
So Bowling Solitaire is an old game, probably from the 60s, by Sid Saxon. He actually published it in a book called The Gamut of Games that has a bunch of different games in it, and that was one of the games in it. This is a game you play with a standard deck of cards, and when you play, I think you use half the deck, and you shuffle them up, and then you play 10 cards onto the table in a pyramid shape, sort of like bowling pins are lined up when you're bowling. And your goal is to remove all the cards, hopefully clearing the board and getting a full strike, basically. And you will play multiple 10 frames of this if I remember right. So it feels like you're bowling because you're trying to get all the pins knocked down, and you're playing multiple frames and all that. It's surprisingly thematic for a game that uses a simple deck of cards, which also means you could play it for free. You could go to Wikipedia and find the rules there and play for free. It's also available as a commercial product from Eagle Griffin Games, combined together with 11 C's for one, the two in a single box, because they're both really small games.
I think that's where I remember it from.
Okay, and it feels like bowling surprisingly, and bowling's a sport. It's definitely athletic because those balls are heavy, and you got to aim carefully. So
But you're
I
saying
think
it's a
it's
sport because the balls are heavy?
yeah. What you said, sports are physical activities, right?
It's true.
Yeah, and picking
I
up
feel
heavy
like
balls is definitely
I'm feeling
physical
hoisted
activity.
by my own petard, but okay.
Hey, Julius, it's the rules of the game, okay? So there. So bowling solitaire, simple to play and easy to pick up and try it out because all you need is a deck of cards. There we go. So what's your next sport, Julius?
Fair. My next sport, um, so there's no points. This is okay. It's K2. K2 is the
Oh, okay.
sport of mountain climbing. Mountain climbing is a sport where your goal is to climb higher than other people, and there's competition to being the highest climber. I think it's a sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's close enough to sport for me.
Yeah.
It's physical activity at the very least.
And
So
there's
in
competitions at the extreme levels of it. First one to climb this mountain or that mountain, fastest times,
sure.
all kinds of crazy stuff.
So in K2, you are climbing a mountain using your hand mansion. So everyone has a deck of the same cards, basically. They're going to be drawing them in different order. You're going to play a certain number of cards, and you'll use those cards to be able to climb and move around and keep moving on up the mountain. You have to gauge it, though, with a certain number of risks because you're going to be consuming it's not consuming oxygen, but consuming your acclimatization to oxygen because high up levels, there's less oxygen. It's hard to breathe. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to rest more. So you're going to be consuming that acclimatization. So you'll want to camp as you're going along. So you'll probably put up some tents, helps you to rest a bit easier. The goal is to climb as high as you can without dying. You have two climbers that you are helping up. Don't let them die because they can die, and death is very sad when that happens. They don't technically die, they just need an emergency rescue.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah,
fine.
helicoptered out.
Helicopter, yeah, exactly. But no, you don't want them to die. In short, don't let them die. If they die, they get a lot less points, and that's the biggest concern. This sort of thing is getting less points when people die. So don't don't run out of acclimatization. You want to get as high up as you can. Ideally, you want to get all the way to the top, whichever mountain this is. But there's harder mountains, more difficult ranges, more difficult weather
Oh,
that you have to
okay.
deal with. And so you can really pump it up. I even have some of the expansions in my box, which have even tougher mountains and some additional issues with pitons and ropes and stuff like that. So essentially you are using your hand, you're managing your hand to gauge when you want to push up the mountain, when you want to pull back and rest, to make sure that you're balancing acclimatization against forward movement and not getting yourself caught in the random deck of weather cards that are going to be coming out and making your day so much more worse and so much more sad. In terms of components, like the only problem I've had with the components has just been that the weather deck comes out and you have to then sort of think about where it is. I wish there was some sort of markers that came with the game for showing weather here. Don't be here. Because I often start getting involved in getting the tank. I'm like, okay, we have these and this, and then next turn I'm going to do this and this. And then I'll often be like, okay, implement plan. And then a turn or two later, implement the plan. I'm like, oh, wait. That storm that I absolutely saw coming, because you get weather predictions. I absolutely saw that coming. And now I'm in the middle of it.
And now you need the helicopter. Ooh, drat.
Shoot. I've killed quite a number of people on K2. It's a deadly mountain for me. But the game is really fun. Managing this is really fun. It's not too complicated of a game. I'd probably consider lighter on the level.
Mm-hmm.
My wife really enjoys it. So that is K2. Hopefully you can consider that a sport.
I'll count that one. Sure. That's
Cool.
definitely a very athletic thing. I've always wanted to play it. I've never played that one. I have a game called Disaster on K2, which was published by Victory Point Games years ago, one of the little tiny folio games. And again, same idea. You're climbing the mountain, trying to get to the top and down. Here you have teams of 4. And I remember it being very, very, very hard and very, very grim game. But a lot of fun. I should pull that out again. That's been too long. That's a good game. All right. So that
So
would
what's
be
your next one on your list, Albert?
So my third game, it's a sports game, but I don't like it so much in that, honestly, I don't even remember this one too well. I liked it. I had fun playing it. I remember enjoying it, but I can't tell you too much about it right now. I didn't prepare. Again, I said I didn't get a lot of rest and all that this weekend, so I was sick and whatnot. But Cold Water Crown, it's a game about sports fishing. It's even got sport in the name. It's such a sport they had to say it was a sport in the title. Sports fishing. And this is a game where you're in a fishing competition for trying to get the most points, and you get points by catching the biggest fish of different types and things like that. There's different types of fish. You could fish in the I don't even remember too well. And I wish I could remember more and say more about it. Honestly, it's unfair to the game, but I did enjoy it, and it had an interesting way of playing solo, where you could always see what was coming up, and you could block the AI by where you position yourself. So there's definitely some gamemanship going on, even in the solo game of how you fished and where you fished and what you did. I think it was relatively light on theme. I think there's things like cards for different types of equipment and all that, but it was never very detailed or deep. Yeah. So there we go. Cold Water Crown.
And I actually saw this one as I was thinking through. I'm like, Albert is for sure going to go with this one. I feel like this is a game he brings up all the time.
I have to, because I don't have a lot of sports games. It's got to be.
It's got to be? You don't have a lot of sports games?
No. I mean, okay, so you know what I was thinking? Is gladiatorial combat a sport? It was a sport once,
yes,
right?
It is. I think so, because my next one is Proving Grounds.
Aha! Okay. There we go.
Yeah, I'm hoping that one counts as a sport, because I'm picking Proving Grounds for my third one.
It counted at some point, so we'll take it.
Was that the one you were guessing earlier?
That's the one I was trying to remember earlier. I couldn't remember the name at all.
Proving Grounds?
Yes.
There's another Gladiator one that I thought you might have mentioned, which is by what are the fancy tokens, the fancy circle token people?
Oh, Hoplomachus, yes.
Hoplomachus. I thought you were going to mention Hoplomachus because I'm bringing up Proving Grounds, but I'm going to bring up Proving Grounds. Proving Grounds, you are playing as a gladiator in an epic contest against the other team to try and beat up the other team and survive. Mm-hmm. There is another team. There are 2 teams. It's just a single person versus the other team. I guess rules are perhaps a little bit rules light in terms of gladiator contest, but there's rules for the board game, so maybe. But in Proving Grounds, it is part of the Solo Hero series. So this one is one of the only Solo Hero series where there's a timer. So you are trying to roll as fast as you can. There's a bunch of enemies around you. You have a circle board, enemies in each of the corners, and you have to roll your dice as fast as you can You have like a minute, and then at the end of a minute, you have to lock in your dice and then associate it to all of the different cards. So 1 through 6, so there's enemies on all 6 sides. So ones go to the top slot, twos, etc. around. You'll then go in to see whether or not you either blocked the damage that is incoming or managed to actually damage the person that you are facing off against that side. Some of if you don't block the incoming damage, they're going to damage you, and you're going to start exhausting dice, and your dice pool is going to get a bit less. And then if you take too much damage, you just lose the game. Hopefully, though, you'll only get to the right point of damage, because at one point in time you take enough damage that you get some bonus dice just for being a little bit exhausted and having to pull together your second win, which is always advantageous when that happens. So it is primarily just a speed type game where you're wanting to roll them dice and think about them as fast as you can. Sort out how much of them and what it is that you can have. And sometimes, like, I know I want to damage like this person and this person. Well, let's see whether or not I managed to have the dice work out. You roll the dice and like, well, that didn't work out. Very quickly, can I pivot to a different idea? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. There are some nice expansions, because for the basic one, it feels relatively basic, but there's some nice expansions. And what's even better is the timer. There's an app that helps with the timer that can randomize the expansions, that can help explain startup and give you a quick reference for the expansion. So all of that is really fun. I know Albert isn't such a huge fan of time-based games. I like time-based games. I like the adrenaline that pulls together. This one feels like that adrenaline is right there. It's high adrenaline. It gives some thinkiness and some skill of being able to assess where is that some of the cards need to be defeated or what order is that you need to do. All that's really good. I like it. That is Proving Grounds from the Solo Hero series from Renegade Games.
Yep. And you said that it has expansions. They're in the box. They're not standalone expansions.
Correct, yes.
That they didn't have any published expansions.
Yeah.
Or separate. Okay. Yeah, that's I would have considered that kind of game, gladiatorial combat, a sport, honestly. But it does work.
Yes. I got in.
That is funny. Yeah. Yeah, okay. That works. I feel like I should have more honorable mentions or something. I really don't. Honestly, I just don't have a lot of sports
honorable
mentions. Yeah. Before you say that, I do want to mention there is a company, my friend told me, Tim, that there's a company called Plaay Games. That's with 2 A's, Plaay, and they make a lot of sports and sports simulation type games, like kind of like statistical baseball games. There's a lot of that. So people are expecting us to really talk about sports games. Probably thought we would mention statistics because that's popular in games like baseball games. Check them out. They publish games like that. There's like Stratomatic is a classic one, but this company makes their own. They're different. And they have baseball games. They have a solitaire roller rumble game, dodgeball world tour, high ally. So a lot of different types of sporty games that are probably more sporty than anything we mentioned, honestly. So yeah,
look at that, Albert having a nice sports game reference.
Yeah, so there we go. So actual sports games there.
So I had two honorable mentions. One of them is Tavarua. Tavarua is a surfing game where you are a meeple on a surfboard, and you have a deck of cards where you're going to be balancing where it is that your meeple is balancing on the board, going backwards and forwards to be able to adjust with the waves and how far the waves are pulling you out and how it is that you're adjusting, accommodating to them. I don't own a copy of it. I played it forever ago, but
yeah,
I thought it was pretty fun.
It was fun and had great components, their little surfboards and everything, and you physically put your meeple on the surfboard and moved it up and down as it went inland from the you'd swim out on your surfboard and stand up and come back.
Yeah, this is one that's out of print, and I don't think it's if it's possible to get back in print, but I wanted to give it an honorable mention because it deserves to be on the list.
I did not know it was soloable, actually. That is pretty neat.
It is soloable. It has a solo version of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can play solo against the deck.
Yeah, and this is actually a surfing competition. So it is a sport. It's not just a recreation. It's a sport.
There you go.
Very different.
And then
Yeah.
the last one, so that one was, it's Alba mentioned medium on the list. The last one, possibly a sport, a fantasy sport, is the Mars Open Tabletop Golf, which is a dexterity game where if you've ever played like, paper football and that sort of thing,
Yep.
it's the same basic idea, just with the cardboard stuff, and you get to thwack a paper golf ball or a sort of chipboard golf ball around the board,
Yeah.
trying to knock into right places and get over some challenging terrain and things like that. It's a fun little dexterity game. It is a very simple dexterity game. There's you lines this up and you do a couple things with it, but it's fun, it's cute, it's catchy, and I thought it should also be on the list because it's yet another sport game, just perhaps a little more fantasy. That is Mars Open Tabletop Golf.
Mars. Okay, that sounds neat. That does remind me. I saw a game at the game store today in the consignment shelf. 18 holes. It's a golf game, and that actually looked kind of fun. There's different courses you could set up and play, and I don't know how it worked, but it was soloable.
There you go.
And something like I'm remembering other sports games. There's Rainer Knizia's Decathlon. Have you ever played that? That's a roll and write where you're competing in a decathlon in 10 different sports. And it's Yahtzee-like. Oh, we should talk about that one. We should play it and talk about it. It's a Yahtzee-like game, but each of the sports, the rules are different. And they're different in a way that feels very thematic for whatever you're competing in that one.
Sure.
Yeah, let's add it to our list.
Okay.
And then it's an old game. It's print and play. It's free. So there's that. Yeah, and there used to be old Avalon Hill Regatta and other games like that I used to play. Ah, goodness.
Well,
I guess there are sports out there that we know about.
Well, I pretty well exhausted my list, so I think we're at the end of this game.
Yeah. Oh, we knocked it out of the park, Julius.
All righty.
All right,
have a great evening, everyone. Thanks for listening. We love feedback, so we love hearing from you. You can reach me at julius@oneplayerpodcast.com or JLBird on BGG, and Albert can be reached at albert@oneplayerpodcast.com or Fractalute on BGG. Our website is oneplayerpodcast.com with the number 1, and we're also on Twitter at oneplayerpodcast. The intro music is copyright Angus, can be found at jamendo.com. The transition music is copyright by Dan Elduce Pancaldi, whose page is at donpancaldi.com. The One Player Podcast is protected under a Creative Commons share-alike license. Thanks for listening.